This girl and her lawyer friend are talking with two men about their work. Suddenly, she hears that the handsome guy next to her is with a rich woman and got a lot of money from it. The two of them immediately think he's being kept by a sugar mama. But who would have guessed this was actually a fateful meeting for these two strangers? After being groped by the boss, she fiercely spits water at him, quits her job, and leaves defiantly with her best friend. The heavens smile upon the worthy. The morning sun shone brightly on a sea of golden flowers. She had been hired by a top law firm, Jun Hang, and today she was apartment hunting to be closer to work. Surprisingly, the handsome guy driving a Bentley also came here to live in this backwater place. As fate would have it, they both ended up renting the same apartment, so he immediately called the landlord to sort it out. He offered to pay her 2 months' rent to get her leave, but she refused because she needed this place more than he did. He then told the landlord that instead of renting, he wanted to buy the apartment. The girl said this wasn't fair and started to argue. Jun Hang Company and her boss, Kin Hung, is a big shot in the legal world and is at the top of his game in this country. His track record is built on never having lost a single case. She also said that her boss really liked her and wouldn't let her be bullied by some weirdo trying to push her around. The man suggested that if she didn't want to leave, they could meet in court. The landlord suggested lowering the rent so they could live together. The handsome guy didn't have an opinion, but the girl refused, worried about her safety living with someone of the opposite sex, along with the fact that she looked down on the man's profession, together with the sugar mama of his. After the girl mentioned Kin Hung, the renter was extremely surprised, because he is the owner of Jun Hang. When the girl decided she didn't want to live together, he proposed another solution. He would pay her 2 months' rent and asked to stay for 3 days. The girl accepted this proposal, but set 3 rules. First, he must not interfere with her schedule. Second, he's not allowed to show off his hot body. And third, he can't bring other people home. If he breaks these rules, she'll report him for his less than respectable job. He retorts by saying that snitching isn't exactly a proud action either. In a separate development, a character named Xing Su is misunderstood. In his new drama, where the character Ru Nin constantly advises him to turn back from the wrong path. She is worried about him, fearing he might get into legal trouble. Kin Hung knows that the other person mistakes him for a bad guy. Although he's a bit annoyed, he doesn't explain and instead adds fuel to the fire, making something out of nothing. When the other person brings cleaning supplies into the bathroom, where Kin Hung just showered to disinfect it, Kin Hung asks her to find detergent to clean the entire bathroom. Cheng Yao feels this is reasonable and decides to clean the kitchen and living room as well, singing happily as she works, which makes Kin Hung, who is preparing to go to bed, frown. This apartment was where Kin Hung rented when he first started his career. He's been suffering from frequent insomnia lately. A partner at the law firm, Wu Jun, after hearing advice from a neurologist, came back and advised him to return to the environment where he used to sleep well, as it might help him sleep better. Therefore, Wu Jun rented this apartment for him and also arranged many other strange things. Kin Hung had arranged a few things in his bedroom according to Wu Jun's advice and found that it actually worked. Even though Cheng Yao was making noise in the living room, Kin Hung patiently endured it until dawn. He felt satisfied with Wu Jun's method. However, when he stepped out of his bedroom and saw the entire apartment taped up to divide the space, he became dissatisfied, and all of this was done by Cheng Yao, the assistant Wu Jun found for him. At the same time, Cheng Yao officially started working at Jun Hang. She was introduced to the fact that the company has 5 partners, among whom only Kin Hung didn't want to have his picture taken to be hung on the wall. Cheng Yao found this interesting. When Kin Hung appeared before her, she was completely surprised. Kin Hung asked her to come closer and asked if she had anything to say. Cheng Yao replied that she was blind as a bat, admitting that she was like a frog at the bottom of a well, looking at the sky with a limited view. Kin Hung was very curious as to why she thought he worked as a gigolo. Cheng Yao was forced to admit that she had seen a rich woman wanting to pay Kin Hung a large sum of money for him to have dinner with her at a restaurant. However, Kin Hung left Cheng Yao speechless when he said that the woman was his mother. Afterward, the two agreed to the cohabitation agreement. However, on the evening of the same day, when Cheng Yao was cleaning her room, she heard strange sounds coming from Kin Hang's bedroom. When she entered the room, she discovered that the sounds were coming from an old record player. Although she breathed a sigh of relief, the eerie atmosphere in the room frightened her. Cheng Yao accidentally damaged some of Kin Hang's belongings, making him so angry that he kicked her out of the house. Kin Hung also emphasized that he was her boss and had the right to fire her, leaving her unable to pay the rent. She thought about finding another place to live, but knew that it would take time and staying in a hotel would be too expensive. Fortunately, her company had good facilities such as a kitchen, gym, and bathroom, which were very suitable for temporary accommodation. Therefore, Cheng Yao decided to bring her luggage to the company and temporarily stay there. Unexpectedly, just as she laid down in the storage room, Kin Hung, who suffers from insomnia, heard footsteps in the work area. Chung Yao, frightened, ran out and discovered that it was Kin Hung. She didn't dare let her boss know she was staying at the company, so she started playing a game of cat and mouse with him. Luckily, she successfully avoided her boss's sight. However, because Kin Hung stayed at the office all night, Chung Yao couldn't sleep peacefully. The next day, she kept yawning and asked her colleagues if all bosses didn't need to sleep. Surprisingly, Kin Hung overheard and commented that only those with low efficiency stay up late and make ineffective efforts. Kin Hung was clearly very avoidant of the topic of working overtime at night. Kin Hung was worried that his employees would find out about his insomnia. Therefore, when he again appeared at the company in the middle of the night and accidentally woke up Chung Yao, both were surprised and embarrassed to see each other. Although Chung Yao tried to hide the fact that she was sleeping at the company, small signs made Kin Hung suspicious. On another sleepless night, Kin Hung went straight to the company's storage room and caught Chung Yao sleeping soundly. He asked her why she was there. Chung Yao explained to Kin Hung that she hadn't found a place to live after he kicked her out of the house, so she decided to temporarily stay at the company for a few days. Then, Chung Yao asked if he would allow her to stay at the company for a few more days, until she found a new house to move to. Kin Hung agreed, but he was very curious about how Chung Yao could sleep soundly in such an uncomfortable environment. Chung Yao replied that she could easily fall asleep as soon as she closed her eyes and intended to demonstrate right then, making Kin Hung envious and telling her to leave. This man, Kin Hung, is obsessed with insomnia. He has tried every method, both scientific and unscientific, but still can't sleep through the night. One day, he decided to allow a female company employee, Chung Yao, to stay. He discovered that the noise she made actually made him start to feel sleepy and finally sleep soundly. He wondered if he was able to sleep because of Chung Yao's presence. Previously, Kin Hung had assigned Chung Yao to participate in a divorce case to clarify the division of assets. Chung Yao had to go to the Market Administration Bureau in the rain to check the business records of the client's husband. When she returned, her clothes were soaked. And coincidentally, the company lost water and power, preventing her from changing clothes. Therefore, Kin Hung agreed to lend her the bathroom for half an hour. After showering, Chung Yao decided to go to the kitchen to cook a late-night snack as a thank you. She worked while singing. Initially, Kin Hung was a little annoyed by the noise Chung Yao made while cooking, but then he gradually felt sleepy and finally had a long sleep until morning. When he stepped out of his bedroom, he saw the food on the table and Chung Yao sleeping on the sofa. When she woke up, she made a gesture of respect to Kin Hung, but he said that her bowing wouldn't change anything. Chung Yao hastily explained that she only intended to cook a meal for him, but when she reached the door, she heard him snoring. She planned to just sit on the sofa for a while and then wake him up, but because of the cozy space and the pleasant sound of the rain outside, she fell asleep. Kin Hung immediately noticed this point and decided that the sound of rain was the factor that helped him sleep well. It was a scientific phenomenon and decided that it certainly was not due to Chung Yao. However, that night, when Kin Hung used his phone to play the sound of rain to help him sleep, he found that he couldn't sleep. In an effort to regain sleep, Kin Hung began to simulate the sound of chopping vegetables and stir-frying. He even called a helper from a home service company to cook a late-night snack for him and specifically asked the person to make more noise. However, after several such times, the helper felt annoyed and frustrated with him. The helper told him that if he was sick, he should seek treatment and not disturb others in the middle of the night like this. After the helper left, Kin Hung tried sleeping pills but still couldn't sleep. Finally, with no other options, he decided to bring cold medicine to the company to take care of Chung Yao. But he was surprised to see Chung Yao sleeping at the cash register of a convenience store. He angrily walked in and woke her up, but it was all a hallucination. Realizing he was being ridiculous, he quickly bought a pack of gum to cover his embarrassment. He returned to the company and saw Chung Yao sleeping at the reception desk. He immediately thought it was another hallucination like before. But when he actually encountered Chung Yao, he realized his mistaken decision. This was the real Chung Yao. He quickly escaped the awkwardness by handing her the medicine and telling her not to spread her illness around the office. Chung Yao thought that Kin Hung had a kind heart and felt a bit touched, so she decided to cook instant noodles to thank him. But Kin Hung declined her offer, so she decided to cook for herself. While waiting, she started singing her lullaby, causing Kin Hung to start feeling sleepy again. In the end, both achieved a good outcome. One slept soundly, and the other also got to sleep. The next day, Kin Hung, completely believing in what he considered superstition, invited Chung Yao back to work. He thought Chung Yao didn't have the talent to be a lawyer and found that she was more suited to the role of a life assistant, and her salary would still be paid in full. She could move back in. Chung Yao thought, of course, she wouldn't agree. What a joke. Everyone knows being a lawyer has a future, but Kin Hung, with the authority of a boss, didn't give her a chance to refuse. taking the liberty of moving her belongings back to his house. Kan Hung hired her as if she were 3 in 1. He had an employee, a housekeeper, and a sleep aid device. He suffered from severe insomnia, and only with Chung Yao by his side could he sleep peacefully, whether at home or at the company. The employees were shocked to see this. It's a once-in-a-millennium sight. Kan Hung, the all-around warrior, unexpectedly fell asleep in the office. The crowd excitedly took pictures of this glorious moment. The person who was also surprised was Woo Jun. He didn't think his best friend, Kan Hung, who frequently suffered from insomnia, could sleep so soundly today at the company. Woo Jun couldn't suppress his curiosity. Who on earth is it? Some genius who cured Kan Hung's insomnia. Kan Hung didn't answer the question, but instead accused the other party of hiring Chung Yao as his personal assistant with ulterior motives. The real purpose was aimed at Chung Yao's older sister, Chung Shi. It turned out that Woo Jun had liked Chung Shi since their university days. At that time, he was pursuing her, but unexpectedly, while others still had energy, he fainted on the road. Kan Hung criticized that after failing to pursue Chung Shi in college, Woo Jun became angry and went around fishing, and now he wanted to get back with his old flame. Woo Jun didn't deny it, but still tried to say good things about Chung Yao. He advised Kan Hung to give her more time and patience to develop. Chung Yao, from the first glance, felt he was very attractive. She couldn't have imagined that Woo Jun of Junhang Law Firm had such a different personality from Kan Hung. Kan Hung was always serious and reserved, while Woo Jun often had a radiant smile. All the employees in the company who met him felt like they were enjoying a spring breeze, very pleasant. Woo Jun, who always said he only cared about work, immediately organized a welcome party for the 3 new employees under the pretext of wanting Chung Yao to invite her sister to attend. Therefore, Chung Yao, who had just moved to Kan Hung's house, after helping unclog the drain, rushed to change clothes to attend the welcome party. When Woo Jun saw her, he immediately asked if her sister, Chung Shi, was coming. When he learned that her sister couldn't come, he wasn't disappointed. Instead, he found a way to ask for Chung Shi's contact information, then successfully friend her on social media, leaving with joyful satisfaction. And then he introduced Chung Yao to everyone. He invited 2 single guys from other law firms, advising her to seize the opportunity while she could. Colleague Yufei heard this and was dissatisfied. Why don't you introduce them to me? I only introduce guys who have been single for a long time. Meanwhile, Kan Hung, unable to sleep at home, used the excuse that the water pipe was clogged again, demanding that Chung Yao return to unclog it immediately. However, Chung Yao didn't want to serve him anymore. Why should I do it without getting extra pay? Therefore, she advised him to find a landlord or building management. Kan Hung was very dissatisfied after seeing her status update on social media. He, who never attended parties, went for the first time. Unexpectedly, he heard news that someone wanted to steal his sleep machine. At this time, Kan Hung happened to overhear and immediately targeted the opponent's weakness, criticizing their lost cases. Then, he used the game truth or dare to shut them up. When the bottle pointed at those who wanted to poach her, he would ask questions about legal provisions. The opponent couldn't remember and could only cough up 50,000 yuan for the next gathering. After several times like this, the would-be poacher, Chung Su, had lost all his cash and had to flee in shame. The next target was Chung Yao. Kan Hung once again used a trick to make her the one answering questions and kept asking about 3 provisions requiring Chung Yao to memorize the civil code. She couldn't remember. Chung Yao could only accept defeat. After that, she hastily drank herself drunk to avoid being targeted again, but unexpectedly, the opponent had other plans. Colleagues saw Chung Yao drunk and intended to take her home, but Kan Hung said to let him do it. Then, before everyone's surprised eyes, he put her in his car, but he forgot that drunk people are prone to vomiting. Seeing Chung Yao vomit all over him, he was not only sad because his clothes were dirty, but also because his car was ruined. Therefore, he immediately took her out of the car and threw her into a cardboard box by the roadside, then took out his phone to film as evidence. Does Chung Yao need Kan Hung to provide assistance services? If so, she needs to pay a service fee to Kan Hung. Was that really the case? In a drunken state, Chung Yao made an OK sign, inadvertently pushing herself into Kan Hung's big trap. To take her home, Kan Hung paid a delivery person 50 yuan to help, but immediately demanded she pay 2 million yuan in fees. At this point, Chung Yao was completely unable to communicate and couldn't even stand up. Kan Hung frowned, but in the end, he still helped her. Unexpected situations always come at the right time. She lamented, "A beautiful girl with 10 points, 9 points for beauty, very gentle and lovely. Your eyes are only worth unclogging drains." In her unconscious state, Chung Yao didn't know what consequences she would suffer. She only knew that her current boss looked very handsome and even suspected that he must have had plastic surgery because he was so rich. Kan Hung was so angry that he turned his back to her for daring to criticize his appearance. The next day, Chung Yao woke up. She saw him sitting and waiting for her, having prepared a list of debts, and it was all settled. Completely surprised, a tiger's mouth but a rabbit's heart. She was just a new lawyer, no match for the cunning lawyer in the industry, especially when he brought up the transportation fee, saying that he had put her in a delivery box and taken her out in 2 minutes, according to his nightly rate of 1,000 yuan per minute. Chung Yao couldn't refute, but could only ask him to allow installment payments. Kan Hung, of course, didn't agree. He took out 2 rental contracts and forced her to become a housekeeper, but very quickly, he felt inconvenienced by living together. As soon as he opened the refrigerator, he almost vomited because of the smell of the durian she had bought. After that, he found out that she couldn't help him sleep, so he thought of a way to get rid of her. He started asking his best friend because he had a friend he once lived with. They were noisy, so he kicked them out. Now, for some reason, he invited that person back, but found out it wasn't for that reason, and he wanted to kick that person out. Woo Jun explained that that person was not good. It is better to stay away from friends like that. Such people are unreliable and very annoying. Woo Jun realized the friend he was talking about was himself, so he criticized him, making him lose his composure. At the same time, this dispelled the intention of getting rid of Chung Yao. Meanwhile, Woo Jun went to dinner with Chung Shi. The two hadn't seen each other in a long time. This time, when he saw his unrequited love again, he was still dazed like a dreamer, his mind completely focused on the other person. He picked up a glass of white wine, didn't look, and drank it down in one gulp. He said to Chung Shi, "I'm working a law firm now. Consider coming to work with me. We'll work together." But because he had failed to win her heart, Woo Jun drank a few more glasses of wine, and, just as he thought, Chung Shi's reputation had indeed been smeared by her ex-husband. Not long after, Woo Jun was drunk, taken home, and his mouth was muttering about his regrets. He regretted that day when jogging. If it hadn't been too hot, he wouldn't have fainted. He would have confessed to her. Then that idiot, her ex-husband, wouldn't have had a chance and to torment her. In his drunken state, he still wanted to protect Chung Shi. Following his drunken instinct, he gently kissed her lips and then unexpectedly fell asleep. When he woke up, although he didn't remember last night's events, seeing a long strand of hair on the pillow next to him, he was overjoyed. But when he turned his head and saw a red bill on the table, he was completely confused. Woo Jun, with a serious face, asked Kan Hung, "What does she mean by this?" Kan Hung also didn't expect such a thing to happen. He just laughed gleefully. Woo Jun came to him for advice, not for him to make fun of it. The two of them openly teased each other in the office, and Chung Yao, looking through the glass, immediately thought they had a special relationship. Fortunately, a colleague explained to her that the two of them were always like that. It had nothing to do with love. Chung Yao's strange gaze returned to normal. However, in the evening, Kan Hung was again insomniac and used Woo Jun's idea. Unexpectedly, he sat for a long time but still didn't feel sleepy. Chung Yao saw him in the bathroom for so long, her suspicious gaze reappeared. When he entered the bathroom, he found that the toilet and walls had changed. He angrily asked her what she meant. She saw he was in there for quite a while, so she arranged a soft toilet mat for him. It might be more comfortable. Then she took out an imported medicine that she asked someone to buy for her. It's very effective in treating constipation. Kan Hung was surprised to be misunderstood, then bitterly left. Meanwhile, Chung Yao cooked a late-night snack, her mouth still singing melodiously. Kan Hung, who was suffering from insomnia, heard it and started yawning. At this time, he finally realized that every time he was able to sleep, he heard her singing, so he quickly ran out of his bedroom. He asked Chung Yao to sing exactly this melody. After half an hour, when he finished reading this document, she should continue singing. But Chung Yao needed to quickly finish cooking to review the documents from the Market Supervision Bureau. Although she felt her boss was a bit strange, Chung Yao still followed his instructions. Half an hour later, when she heard his call, she started cooking and singing again, and Kan Hung also quickly fell asleep. Not long after, he woke up again because he was hungry, so the dish that Chung Yao cooked was eaten by him for the first time. This caused his assessment to change once again. The next day, Kan Hung asked Chung Yao to cook a late-night snack only at 11 p.m. Eating out affected his work efficiency. From now on, Chung Yao would take care of dinner. Initially, Chung Yao wasn't very enthusiastic, but when she heard that for every meal she could ask 2 lore-related questions, she happily agreed. It's just that Kan Hung said that she shouldn't sing when cooking dinner, but she had to sing when cooking late-night snacks, which made Chung Yao feel strange. Back home, Chung Yao quickly cooked and used the dinner time to talk to the other party about the divorce case of Star Xingming. This was her first case after joining Junheng Law Firm, and she really wanted to get off to a good start. Moreover, Xingming was her idol, so she really wanted to fight for Xingming's rightful benefits. However, when Kan Hung heard Chung Yao saying how good Xingming was, He changed his expression and asked her to keep a distance from the client, because an excellent lawyer cannot let personal feelings interfere with work. They must stand on the client's side to fight for benefits, not be influenced by personal feelings. The two had completely different views on this issue, one rational, one emotional, and soon an argument broke out. Everyone has their own ideas. On the other hand, Woo Jun planned to invite Chung Shi to dinner on the weekend, and at the same time ask about the meaning of her leaving 500 yuan, but unexpectedly, she said she had a date with her sister. Woo Jun had an idea and targeted Kan Hung. After all, brothers are easy to fool each other. Therefore, he told Kan Hung that the Bar Association had a weekend event, and it was very helpful for the selection of the Golden Scales Award, related to the team building of young lawyers. He especially emphasized that he had to bring Cheng Yao. As a result, when Kan Hung took Cheng Yao to the scene, he realized he had been tricked. What team building? It was just a lawyer dating event. Kan Hung, who had never lost, was tricked by his best friend into attending a dating event. Unexpectedly, as soon as he opened his mouth, he made the female guest fall silent. He kept giving awkward answers to the questions of the female lawyers. Woo Jun, who had tricked him, couldn't help but call to scold him. Because it affected the reputation of the law firm, due to his cold attitude, no one wanted to participate in the second round of rowing with him. There were two men interested in Cheng Yao, but Kan Hung used his power to force her to join him. As a result, everyone was a man rowing. Only Cheng Yao, a weak and lovely girl, was struggling with hard work. Kan Hung was excited to say that he always wanted to experience the feeling of losing a case, but always won, so he wanted to lose the boat race instead. Therefore, Cheng Yao didn't let him achieve his goal, paddling so hard that even the oar was dropped by her. When he saw Cheng Yao about to fall while trying to retrieve the oar, Kan Hung came to help, accidentally falling into the river himself. Cheng Yao quickly jumped into the water to save him, both of them getting their clothes completely wet. Meanwhile, Woo Jun succeeded in meeting Chung Shi at the amusement park. He, although scared, still went into the haunted house with her. When he came out of the haunted house, he was completely stunned, and it took him a long time to recover after being called by Chung Shi. But that look on Woo Jun's face made Chung Shi suspect that he used this trick to flirt with girls. Woo Jun had to spend a while explaining to clarify that he was a good boy and not a bad boy. He was about to ask her about the 500 yuan she left before. What was her meaning? Suddenly, he received a call from Kan Hung, asking him to prepare 2 sets of clothes, one male and one female, and send them to a certain hotel. Woo Jun was immediately surprised. What female clothes? He quickly apologized to Chung Shi and left under Kan Hung's threat. After knowing the real reason and sending the clothes, Woo Jun grumbled as he walked. In the evening, Cheng Yao checked the law firm's project and found a case worth only 5 million. The client was a psychiatrist and the representative was Kan Hung, who always appeared on time. But he never accepted cases under 10 million. So she felt there was a problem and called the other person. Unexpectedly, the other person knew she was Kan Hung's assistant. So he made her scold him for not cooperating with treatment. He has this illness, you have to tell your boss. Take care of yourself. She recalled Kan Hung's strange actions and finally understood everything and realized that every time she sang lullabies, his body saw her as a kind of medicine. At that time, Kan Hung suddenly asked her not to cook dinner because he had to review documents immediately. Smiling, she ran into the kitchen to cook and sing. After cooking, she proudly challenged him. She used the excuse of bringing food in to check and discovered that her boss had actually fallen asleep. Kan Hung immediately woke up when it was already morning. Everything was due to Cheng Yao. Yesterday, he stayed up to work, but she put him to sleep. Cheng Yao was asked by her sister to take care of her pet dog for a few days. She didn't expect her boss to make a difficult choice, either her or the dog. She quickly understood why her boss was so unapproachable. He was 1.9 meters tall and dashing, but he was terrified when he saw dogs and didn't dare to go near them. Although Cheng Yao kept trying to explain that her sister was on a business trip and she was only helping to take care for a few days, Kan Hung still didn't agree. But in the end, Cheng Yao used the sleep aid function to persuade Kan Hung. He thought for a long time and finally agreed, but demanded that she not let it into the living room. So he agreed. The next day, Xing Ming's husband, Su Jun, along with his representative lawyer, Bei Qi, came to negotiate a settlement. Cheng Yao seemed to know Bei Qi from before. Kan Hung saw her small gestures, although he didn't say anything in front of them. After refusing the settlement, he warned her not to be unprofessional because of a good personal relationship with the opposing lawyer. He saw all of her friendly gestures. Cheng Yao hastily explained, saying that Bei Qi was her senior in college. She passed the judicial exam thanks to his guidance. It wasn't as he thought. She promised not to let personal feelings affect her work. But when Kan Hung went on a business trip out of town, Cheng Yao received Xing Ming, who had come to visit and asked for her help. Cheng Yao knew that direct communication with outsiders was not her responsibility, but out of kindness. She agreed to help Xing Meng block Su Jun, who had been constantly harassing her. Xing Meng recounted pitifully, saying that Su Jun knew she didn't agree to the settlement. So he sent people to her house to threaten her, and she didn't dare to call the police. Previously, just displeasing Su Jun a little, he would go crazy. Xing Meng had gone through a lot of pain to overcome this darkness. Therefore, when Su Jun begged Cheng Yao to let him see Xing Meng one last time, Cheng Yao told him to go back and think about his mistakes. Su Jun looked very upset. His company was preparing to go public if a lawsuit occurred. It would have a big impact. With a bad look on his face, he looked up at the tall building behind him. That evening, Su Jun was found to have jumped from the building, parting from this world. Cheng Yao saw the news related to this incident and completely broke down, especially when she went to the company and saw Xing Meng holding a press conference. Her new lawyer, Deng Ming, said that Xing Meng intended to settle, but had entrusted all communication to the professional lawyers of Junhang law firm. Because the lawyer did not notify her in time, Xing Meng did not know about Su Jun's request for reconciliation. Xing Meng now put all the responsibility on Junhang. It was certainly a strategy devised by Deng Ming. As for Junhang Law Office, I will terminate the legal representation contract and entrust all subsequent legal matters to Dewey Law Office, represented by myself. She was a new lawyer. Thanks to her sister's connections, she got a job as an assistant to the boss at a top law firm. She didn't expect that because she trusted her feelings too much, believing the client's story, she ruined her first case. And in the end, she also inadvertently fell into a situation of being criticized and gossiped about by the public online. Actually, if my younger brother and his ex-wife, Xing Ming, could have communicated well at that time, there was still a possibility of reconciliation and the tragedy would not have happened. Now, I just want to ask Cheng Yao, a lawyer, do you feel heartbroken? The murderer, the evil lawyer Cheng Yao. Cheng Yao was attacked by netizens. But what she didn't expect was that when she went to find the client to demand an explanation, Ken Hung, who never showed anyone mercy, suddenly appeared and spoke up to protect her honor, even warning Deng Ming not to use petty tricks anymore. The confrontation between the two elite lawyers was very interesting to watch. Xing Ming told Deng Ming not to provoke Ken Hung. She didn't want to complicate things further. She just wanted to get away from Su Jun's suicide. Deng Ming reassured her, saying that he had other plans. Meanwhile, Cheng Yao frankly admitted that she was too stupid, expecting her boss to scold her. But unexpectedly, Ken Hung was still very calm, saying that his time was precious. He could use the time to scold her to take on a few more cases. However, after that, he suspected Cheng Yao, whether she had taken money from both the plaintiff and the defendant. For example, she persuaded Xing Meng not to meet, then contacted Su Jun to demand benefits, agreeing to accept money to facilitate a meeting and reconciliation between the two sides. This was a win-win plan. It was just a pity that Su Jun couldn't stand the pressure, choosing to jump from the building. Cheng Yao was immediately worried. Ken Hung was just letting her know about this possibility so that she would be more cautious. Being a lawyer also has its own professional risks, representing which people will bring risks and how to keep those risks under control. Keep evidence during the representation process. She is a lawyer. She should know even better where the boundaries of the law are, how to operate everything most safely. Boss, you don't have evidence. Why are you willing to help me? I believe you because of your intelligence and your somewhat flat brain. Cheng Yao's emotion hadn't ended when Ken Hung also reassured her. He affirmed that there was nothing in this world that he couldn't solve. Cheng Yao cooked a big meal to thank him, accepting all his opinions. Even Ken Hung just said one sentence: shrimps have thorns. Cheng Yao voluntarily helped him peel the shrimp and even asked him what song he liked to listen to. Even if she didn't know it, she was willing to learn. She showed her obedience and gentleness in front of Ken Hung. He said that he only occasionally had insomnia. There was no need to do so much, but seeing her so sincere in this matter, he no longer had any doubts. Unbeknownst to her, Ken Hung had asked Cheng Yao to write a 10,000-word self-criticism. While writing, Cheng Yao suddenly suspected that she herself had prevented Su Jun from meeting Xing Ming, thus causing him to have no way out and resort to deceased. She couldn't help but feel sad. With that situation, Ken Hung called her to a bar. At the same time, he also invited Su Jun's representative lawyer, Bei Qi. He asked Bei Qi to say what she knew about Su Jun's marital situation. Things that needed to be kept confidential could be omitted. After that, Bei Qi revealed that Su Jun suffered from severe depression. But Xing Ming said that the victim was her, because Su Jun frequently mocked and even abused her. Here I have a certificate of Su Jun's depression as well as records of their conversations. Xing Ming once said when she was the victim in this marriage. After the meeting, she kept me alone in the meeting room, asking to confirm the evidence that time. Indeed, she is a famous actress, using her acting skills to turn black into white. The girl came to the company in the morning and received several packages from the express delivery service. Although she didn't buy anything, she felt very strange. Her colleague said, "Didn't buy anything? Could it be that someone is secretly in love with you, sending you secret gifts?" However, when she opened the package, everyone was horrified to find that it was a malicious prank. Every time she opened a package, it was the same. So her colleague quickly asked her not to open any more, and two male colleagues also intended to throw the packages away, because they all guessed that this was someone launching a cyber attack on Cheng Yao. Although feeling a little scared, Cheng Yao was determined to open each package. She decided to learn from Ken Hung. When Ken Hung first started practicing law, he was also cyber attacked like her, but he chose to collect evidence, sue those who spread rumors and those who threw stones online. Thanks to these people gifting Ken Hung more than 600,000 yuan in compensation, he had the initial capital for his business. When Cheng Yao heard about this, she almost admired him for this grand design. No wonder he's a top-notch lawyer, able to use everything to make money. Initially, she also blamed herself for causing Su Jun to leave this world, but when she learned that he suffered from depression, she felt relieved. As Ken Hung said, did she really think just a few harsh words from her could make a young businessman jump from a building? She overestimated herself too much. Although on the outside, everyone says she is a malignant tumor of the industry. Actually, I think she's still very warm-hearted, just a bit sharp-tongued. Ken Hung felt uneasy. As a boss, he got so angry that he had to let his employee pay, and even let Cheng Yao, who had a driver's license but had never driven on the road, be the driver, making her so scared that she didn't dare close her eyes. Ken Hung thought he was wrong to let her drive. This was reap what you sow, no one can bear. Who told him not to call a ride-hailing service, but insisted on letting the newbie drive. The next day, Cheng Yao, after receiving the threatening packages, decided to collect them to use as evidence later. But when she saw the photo of herself and her sister edited into a funeral photo, she was still very angry. At the same time, she was also worried that her sister would be implicated because of her, so she quickly called her sister. Unexpectedly, her sister, although being toxified by the online community, still comforted her, telling her that if she had difficulties at work, she should tell her. She had just hung up when she received a call from her ex-husband, Deng Ming. Initially, she didn't want to answer, but when she saw that her ex-mother-in-law wanted to see her, she reluctantly agreed because her ex-mother-in-law had treated her very well. She only hoped that she and her son would have children soon and have the opportunity to hold grandchildren. Deng Ming said to his elderly mother, "Mom, wanting to have children is already in the plan. Even though you've been divorced for so long, you still hide it from Mom? Aren't you tired? My mother really likes you, but with her health condition, I'm afraid she can't handle it." Cheng Yao was cyber-attacked. It must be you, right? Cheng Shi, when she got divorced, was also cyber-attacked. So she understood very well that her sister's matter was definitely related to Deng Ming, and he, as always, denied it. On the other hand, Wu Jun and Ken Hung were preparing to hold Xing Ming accountable for her lies. Previously, Ken Hung had recorded the conversation with her, which could prove that she had clearly said she would never reconcile. She testified untruthfully, which had affected the reputation of Wu Jun. Ken Hung also planned to issue a statement, informing everyone that Xing Ming's case was his responsibility and had nothing to do with other lawyers of Wu Jun. In order to remove Cheng Yao from the cyber attack, Wu Jun immediately expressed his gratitude. But unexpectedly, this gave Ken Hung an idea. Pay your friend 50,000 yuan. I'm helping you, and I still have to pay. I just don't want Wu Jun's reputation to be damaged. Actually, firing Cheng Yao is also fine. Just say Cheng Yao acted on her own. It has nothing to do with Wu Jun. It's all a misunderstanding. You take responsibility once, I'll be the bad guy. You can both fight against the emotional opponent Deng Ming in court, helping Cheng Shi vent her anger and protect Cheng Yao, able to show off in front of her sister. I'm already giving you a discount by charging you 50,000. Let's talk about money later. Ken Hung is a top lawyer. Not losing money, possessing very correct and upright views, it's just a pity that he has a bit of a rude mouth. Ken Hung saw Cheng Yao sad because of the cyber attack. He found an excuse to take her to the supermarket to buy snacks. He arrogantly asked her what she liked to eat, then said a coincidental sentence. They were all things he liked. So he took a little of each and paid for everything. As a result, when he got home, he said he didn't want to eat anymore and told her to throw them away. It was all bought with money. Throwing away is a waste. So in order not to waste, Cheng Yao ate it all herself. When Ken Hung came out, seeing her eating and sniffling, he couldn't help but doubt the saying that eating snacks can improve your mood. But unexpectedly, he just said one sentence. The scene of you holding back tears looks very ugly. Cheng Yao couldn't control herself and burst into tears. She's already this sad, and you're still saying she is ugly. Normal people at this time would pretend to be polite, say a few words of praise about beauty. That's what normal people are. Unexpectedly, Kan Hung also knew that he was not a normal person, but in order not to make her sad anymore, he finally said a compliment about Chung Yao being beautiful in an awkward way and told her to take the snacks to her room. After that, he asked the public relations department to handle the cyber attack incident from Xingming's fans and personally drafted a lawyer's statement, warning those who spread excessive rumors. The next day, when Chung Yao came to the company, she saw a series of cyber attackers publicly apologizing. Her colleague even made a poem about Kan Hung. My society, my boss can manage everything. Those who dare to make trouble, prepare to face my wrath. The documents are ready, filed in court this afternoon. We still have to rely on Wu Jun, just as the boss himself appears. This is the fastest case the boss has handled that I've ever seen. Seeing everyone caring about her, Chung Yao decided to work hard to get over this. Kan Hung looked over, thinking she was still sad, so he sought help from the online community to plan stress relief. Poor Chung Yao was arranged to do a bunch of trivial tasks, and when she got home, she also had to clean up a very messy room. The little dog, kept at home, became the scapegoat. Kan Hung thought he had completed 2 plans, feeling very proud of himself, immediately started implementing the 3rd plan. Beijing time, 9:12 a.m. Chung Yao was late, 5 minutes late, but not more than 15 minutes. She will be deducted from that month's attendance bonus. Early, Beijing time, 9:16 a.m. Come late, get deducted from that month's meal allowance. What the hell is this? Don't we always turn a blind eye to being late here? Who? What idiot thought up this policy? It's me, the short-lived husband. Oh, sorry, the owner of this place is that idiot. No meal allowance. She might lose job also. The girl was forced to live with her boss, not expecting the other party to do a very good job of making her miserable. She made a mess in the house every day and then blamed it on the dog kept at home. Her stupid dog started destroying the house again. However, who knew that leaving a banana peel on the floor would make him suspicious? Is the dog now so smart, even knowing how to peel a banana itself? Kan Hung immediately felt his face burning. Using the method of saying less and doing more, he quickly cleaned up to hide his anxiety. Then, he went back to his room, asked the know-it-all online community. They knew everything, but didn't know why after using their methods the subject was still not satisfied. He discovered that he had been tricked. Because of his previous plans, it turned out it was a satire of the online community for Kan Hung. He felt uneasy, especially when someone there said he liked Chung Yao. Kan Hung angrily turned off the tablet and firmly opposed their views, but after thinking about it, he still decided that he should help his roommate improve her mood. So, he invited her to run 1 kilometer, reducing her probation period by 1 day. He invited Chung Yao to run, making her exhausted, panting, and almost kneeling before Kan Hung. She really couldn't take it anymore. We've been running for 10 minutes. Kan Hung asked her if she felt better. He told her not to do that. Chung Yao couldn't help but feel suspicious, until the other person expressed that when they encounter setbacks, they need time to overcome them and not hide in their rooms and secretly cry. Then, she realized that the boss's strange actions were actually a concern for her. She felt both amused and touched, but still quickly thanked the other party and admitted that Xingming's case had indeed caused a big shock to her. However, wounds will heal over time. Right now, she just wanted to work hard and hoped her boss would give her another chance so that she could continue to contribute with her top-notch strategic thinking. Try to make up for your mistake this time. Try not to repeat it. Now I am your person. You have to protect me. Looking into Chung Yao's eyes, Kan Hung was completely stunned, his mind filled with I am your person. Finally, to hide his other anxieties, he even blatantly said that her eyes were too similar to a puppy's. It makes me uncomfortable. Wants to open up to him, but he says she looks like a dog. Hearing that, she got angry and wanted to go home. She had just received a legal aid case and felt very happy. Then her boss took the case away, which made her sad. In the legal industry, most lawyers usually avoid unprofitable cases, but at this law firm, there are 2 people who are particularly fighting for that case. So, one is a newbie who needs cases to practice, and the other, Wu Jun, has a purpose. Wu Jun finally figured out how to get Chung, she, to join Junhang Law Firm. Chung, she is currently working in legal aid. Her company decided to participate in this field. Wu Jun also remembered the achievements of the person he loved. But she refused to join Junhang Law Firm many times because she didn't want to work with her sister and was afraid that her bad reputation would affect her sister's career. However, Wu Jun did not give up. One day, he told Chung Shi about Chung Yao being attacked online. The story continues when Chung Shi ends things, and she showed unexpected gratitude towards him. He took the opportunity to ask her to invite him to dinner. Chung Shi happily agreed and told him to come to the hotel on the weekend to meet him. When he heard the news from the hotel, Woo Jun was very happy and thought that something good might happen. However, when he arrived at the hotel, Chung Shi asked him into the kitchen to help. Woo Jun stepped in, yawning, and unexpectedly saw Chung Shi peeling potatoes. He panicked and asked her what the hell she was doing in the kitchen, peeling potatoes for someone else, and if she was in any trouble. Chung Shi couldn't help but laugh at this misunderstanding and explained that she was taking on a legal aid case and Aunt Zhou, the person in charge of the case, had come to discuss the case and that she was just helping her peel a few potatoes. So, Woo Jun also volunteered to join. Aunt Zhou, the person in charge of the case, immediately praised him, but when she saw how he peeled potatoes, she didn't hesitate to criticize him, saying that although Woo Jun looked polite and good-looking, he really didn't know how to do it. She said that if he married a wife with such skills, his wife would have to suffer. Chung Shi knew that Woo Jun was not good at this job, so she quickly said goodbye to Aunt Zhou to avoid unnecessary trouble. When leaving the hotel, Woo Jun planned to ask about the 500 yuan, but in the end, he couldn't open his mouth and instead switched to another topic. They chatted happily, laughing without knowing that in the distance, a woman in a car was using a camera to take pictures of the moments they were together. And that girl was Deng Ming's niece. She commented that they had left the hotel together, implying that they might be having a shady romantic relationship, like an extramarital love affair developing rapidly. A man betrayed his wife for a chance to advance in his career. When they divorced, he even used tricks to damage her image. However, when his ex-mother-in-law fell ill, Chung Shi still forgot the old grudge with her husband and went to visit her. But she no longer had a good attitude towards this ex-husband. She showed anger and couldn't hide her disdain when her ex-husband suggested remarriage. Chung Shi felt it was ridiculous, and after thinking carefully, reacted rudely to this scoundrel. On the other hand, Kin Hung was worried because he couldn't find a simple case for Chung Yao to practice. At this time, he received a phone call about a divorce case, and the client's daughter, named Tong Min, wanted to meet him. Tong Min liked Kin Hung, and she expressed her feelings. "I really like you. You're still young. At this age, you shouldn't consider love as everything in life." A man named Tong Shan was seeking a divorce, and his divorce case was assigned to Chung Yao to handle. The divorce petition was quite simple. He just wanted to get divorced and didn't mind giving his wife extra money. Chung Yao took this case very seriously and quickly contacted Tong Shan to discuss the relevant details. Although Tong Shan appeared to be a person who valued feelings and morality, Chung Yao's female intuition felt that something was strange. Tong Shan explained that he chose to divorce because he had a stomach ulcer with the risk of complications to cancer. However, Chung Yao thought that even with the risk of complications, the disease could still be controlled. Chung Yao decided to carefully examine the case file. She was surprised to discover that all of Tong Shan's real estate was located in the city center, except for a detached villa in the suburbs. She decided to go see this villa and discover surprise. Chung Yao apologized to Mr. Tong Shan for infringing on his privacy, but she explained that as his representative lawyer, she needed to better understand his marital situation. Chung Yao was walking the dog in the residential area. Unexpectedly, when she was giving directions to the delivery guy, the dog ate something next to the trash can. Seeing this, she panicked, but unfortunately loosened the leash, causing the dog to run away, unfortunately running to Kin Hung. Just like that, what was coming came. The dog kissed Kin Hung. To talk about this situation, we have to go back 2 hours, when Kin Hung just returned to the residential area. He was informed by the security guard that there had been a molestation incident in the area. Everyone should be careful. The suspect has not yet been identified. Initially, he wasn't too concerned, but when he got home and didn't see Chung Yao, he thought she might be walking the dog. He calmly returned to his office. Waiting 2 hours later and still not seeing her return, the phone was also unreachable. He couldn't help but worry, quickly finding a reason for himself. During the time the two were renting together, if a personal accident occurred, Kin Hung would be responsible and unable to escape. Her long black hair is very beautiful. Especially her eyes are very beautiful. No, perhaps they're just normally beautiful. Whoever finds her before him, he will pay that person 3 months' salary. Kin Hung was so worried that he made a generous promise. But unexpectedly, his kindness was met with bitter fruit. She felt very guilty towards him. Kin Hung was extremely angry, forcing Chung Yao to help him deodorize, until she said, Kin Hung, when he was rushed at that time, looked really handsome. Somehow, hearing that obvious compliment, the anger in his heart suddenly disappeared completely. The next day, Chung Yao didn't know if Kin Hung had stopped being angry. She specially made a lavish breakfast table as an apology. On the other hand, Woo Jun had rented a room in the office building near Junhang law firm. He planned for Chung Shi to work here and also brought Junhang's legal aid cases, considering it a convenient reason to meet Chung Yao. Unexpectedly, the other party was willing to accept legal aid cases but refused to accept this office. Helplessly, he came up with another idea. How about being my assistant? Chung, she agreed. Woo Jun on the other side smiled like an idiot. After that, she went to meet the client to understand the case. Unexpectedly, after talking for a while, her ex-husband Deng Ming came to harass her, saying that he forgot the safe's password, feeling that the house was not right without her. She of course knew what he was thinking. So many years, he has never changed. If he had me in his heart, how could he forget? We're divorced. The client, worried that she was in trouble, found an excuse to call her back, and everything ended with a subdued atmosphere. Meanwhile, Chung Yao reported the progress of the Tong Shan case to Ken Hung, informing him that she had discovered Tong Shan had someone else outside. Ken Hung congratulated her on passing the test. It turned out that he understood Tong Shan's personality very well, suspecting it from when he took the case. So he let her investigate. Chung Yao felt very excited. She would definitely try her best, put in 100% effort. She could definitely overcome it. Unexpectedly, just one day later, Chung Yao was working hard when she received bad news. Ken Hung told her she didn't need to pursue the Tong Shan case anymore. It turned out that the client Tong Shan had a car accident early this morning. The person was gone. The divorce case naturally also vanished into thin air. As an upright lawyer, I want to see him off one last time. His wife hastily organized a funeral for him. As Ken Hang's first client, when he had no experience and reputation, Tong Shan had provided great support, so he was always grateful. After attending the funeral, Tong Shan's wife invited Ken Hung to stay and recount her and her husband's past. Finally, she revealed her purpose, hoping they would help conceal the fact that Tong Shan had filed for divorce. Ken Hung said, without expression, that lawyers all have a duty of confidentiality. Even after the contract has ended, the confidentiality clause still exists. Chung Yao felt that this Ken Hung was really too heartless. But Ken Hung just said that he was just doing his job, and Tong Shan's wife was not as Chung Yao said, unaware of the things Tong Shan had done. Actually, she knew everything. The sadness was real, but she also had her own plan. That's why she hastily organized a funeral for her husband. Chung Yao suddenly understood, feeling that human nature was too complex and unpredictable. So, that wife hastily cremated the body, wanting to avoid the division of assets. That way, the other party had no way to request a DNA test for the child. Chung Yao felt shocked. Unexpectedly, she had just felt sympathy for that girl. After returning, Chung Yao felt a little sad. Ken Hung was very worried about this. He made up a reason for himself, paying attention to the mental stress of employees. Taking appropriate guidance measures is a normal part of an employer's personnel management. He went out to help her relieve her mood. At this time, Tong Min sent a message asking to meet Chung Yao. Ken Hung reminded her to remember to record. However, Tong Min said over and over again that she liked Ken Hung. While Ken Hung didn't like her, she realized that Ken Hung already fancied Chung Yao, so she blessed them. Chung Yao hastily denied it, and when she returned home, she saw in the living room a person and a dog were getting along harmoniously. The only strange thing was that the adorable puppy was wearing a blindfold. Why is it blindfolded? Ken Hung quickly replied, its gaze is too stupid. It's visual pollution to me. But the actual situation was that Ken Hung was no longer as afraid of dogs as before. Looking into the puppy's eyes, he somehow always remembered Chung Yao's emotionless face. He felt they were very similar, so he blindfolded it. Feeling a little guilty, he quickly changed the subject, asking the other party to fulfill her promise to invite him to dinner. While waiting for the food, they started talking about games, both becoming excited. They chatted happily with each other. Chung Yao had just bought an ice cream and only licked it once. Unexpectedly, in the blink of an eye, she discovered that the ice cream had been eaten by Ken Hung. Ken Hung even said that the ice cream was delicious. She could buy a few more to keep in the refrigerator. He would reimburse her. After that, Chung Yao used the excuse of walking the dog. Chung Yao was really too much. Why was her head full of unhealthy thoughts? Ken Hang's words, the taste was also not bad, like gentle spring rain moistening her mind. And the seeds of ambiguity began to grow. Just then, unexpectedly, a dog ran over and started playing with Chung Yao's puppy. The owner of the other dog immediately demanded she pay $20,000, claiming that her pet dog had harmed his pet. When things are tough, there's the boss to help. Fortunately, Ken Hung appeared in time and used U.S. legal provisions to chase the scammer away. Although he said he came down to help Chung Yao take out the trash. That was just an excuse because she had already taken out the trash before. Chung Yao's emotions were now very confused. She felt very bewildered. Moreover, on the day before buying ice cream, Ken Hung had asked her to invite him to dinner. During the meal, they talked about music, games, and even dreams. After returning, he even paid her for the meal. All these signs made her unable to understand, so she called her best friend. She answered Chung Yao's questions. Oh my god, you're so clueless about love. Ken Hung definitely likes you. Chung Yao tossed and turned, muttering to herself, "He likes me? How cute." The green tree. The leaves are also green, named Ambiguity, is growing strongly. Under the guise of thanking Kin Hung for his help, Chung Yao created a very chill and romantic space and then invited him to soak his feet for relaxation. Although not rich, she had to live by pretending to be rich. Their daily lives were still very good, and foot soaking really helped with sleep. A beautiful evening, but no one expected that this warm atmosphere would only last one night. The next day, they had a conflict. Tong Shan's girlfriend on the outside came to Junhang law firm, wanting to use the child in her belly to fight for Tong Shan's inheritance. While Chi Mei was recounting the situation, Chung Yao kept interrupting. She felt it was unnecessary to represent this case, but Kin Hung was firm in his position. However, Chung Yao was also firm in her position, making Kin Hung so angry that he said he regretted it. Initially, he shouldn't have let her into Junhang. It was Wu Jun who deliberately brought her into the office through the back door. At this time, Chung Yao learned that she got in through connections. She felt very insecure, and Kin Hung also regretted saying things he shouldn't have said in anger. Indeed, from the beginning, Kin Hung had never valued her. Besides helping him cure his insomnia, she was of no other use. "He likes me? Chung Yao, wake up. He is the person high above the clouds. And you, in other people's eyes, are just a blade of grass by the roadside brought in through the back door. You're just a tool used to carry out therapy." She had just returned to her workstation. Her heart was filled with complex emotions, feelings of sadness, inferiority, and negative emotions piled up in her heart. Colleagues thought she was scolded, so they all came to comfort her. They believed that life at Junhang, without being scolded by Kin Hung, was not perfect. They congratulated her on officially integrating into Junhang, but they had missed the main point. Their comfort was basically ineffective on a heart full of scratches anymore. At this time, Kin Hung suddenly became angry, as if he had eaten gunpowder, asking who had arranged Jing Wen's divorce file. Chung Yao knew that she was about to face big trouble. Unexpectedly, her colleague Yu Fei voluntarily took responsibility, because he couldn't bear to see this beautiful flower suffer anymore. Chung Yao looked up at him being scolded terribly, once again enduring mental torture from a boss. Chung Yao couldn't stand it, so she took a leave of absence. Today she felt very unwell. Kin Hung scolded for half an hour, and Chung Yao was also sad to the point of not wanting to return to the shared apartment anymore. She went to a hotel and rented a room and cried all day. Kin Hung saw that she hadn't returned, couldn't help but worry, sent 2 messages, but they were both ignored by her. The next day, Kin Hung couldn't stand it anymore, telling Wu Jun to go ask where Chung Yao was. After learning about the situation, Wu Jun was furious, but he still had to help Kin Hung clean up the mess. He called Chung Shi, telling her about her sister. She cooked a pot of loving fish soup and brought it to where her sister was staying. She told her sister that she had to use her own strength to prove that she didn't rely on connections. Kin Hung is an excellent lawyer. Kin Hung always has his own considerations when taking a case. If you want to go far on the path of a lawyer, then you should trust him. After hearing her sister's advice, Chung Yao finally regained her spirits, determined to quickly get rid of the backdoor label. Chung Shi also stayed to share joys and sorrows with her sister. She also didn't care about Kin Hung, just like she turned off Wu Jun's phone. Just as Chung Shi arrived at the door of the house, unexpectedly, her scumbag ex-husband also followed. He was drunk and scolded his current wife right in front of his ex-wife. "Don't you feel inferior?" Chung Shi angrily scolded him. However, this guy didn't think it was a big deal and showed remorse. He even took out the photos taken by others, saying that the person pursuing his ex-wife, Wu Jun, was just pretending to love her. He said that he could find any girlfriend he wanted, so why would he choose her, a divorced woman, in the second? He affirmed that only he truly loved her. After saying that, he started acting rudely. Chung Shi immediately splashed water on his face and told him to sober up. "No matter how you treat me, I still love you." Chung Shi felt extremely angry, but when she looked at the photo that the other party brought, she began to doubt her life. She was divorced, and Wu Jun was not. She was also afraid that her ex-husband would harm Wu Jun. Therefore, she ignored all of Wu Jun's contacts. Unexpectedly, the next day, Wu Jun came to find her. Chung Shi said frankly that they should not contact each other anymore. But Wu Jun said that he wanted to take responsibility for her. "We were at the hotel, I was drunk, didn't we do that?" Then, he said that although he didn't remember clearly, he had to take responsibility. Chung Shi replied that nothing happened that day. Chung Shi left 500 yuan for Wu Jun because his phone ran out of battery and wanted him to use that money to call a taxi. And she took off her clothes because he had vomited and soiled her clothes. Although Wu Jun felt a little disappointed, he had no intention of giving up. At the same time, he also blamed Kin Hung because Chung Shi didn't answer his phone, saying that if this matter wasn't resolved, he would cut ties with Kin Hung. Wu Jun dragged Kan Hung to apologize to Chung Yao, not knowing that she had already been persuaded by her sister. When they just stepped out of the office, they saw Chung Yao had come to work. Kan Hung approached Chung Yao hesitantly, but in the end, couldn't say the words of apology. Conversely, it was Chung Yao herself who admitted her mistake and hoped that Kan Hung would give her another chance. She wanted to participate in Chi Mei's case. She again started to get busy with work, along with Bao Rui, seeking out Tong Shan's father, persuading him to agree to a paternity test to determine custody rights of the grandchild. When he learned that he might have a grandson, he immediately agreed. Although he had a very good relationship with his granddaughter, he still believed that only a grandson was suitable to inherit the family property. He said that daughters would eventually get married and have children, unable to shoulder the family business. Although uncomfortable at heart, Chung Yao still fulfilled her duty as a lawyer through the paternity test to determine custody rights, as well as Tong Shan and Chi Mei's records of going to Hong Kong for a gender test. It was confirmed that the fetus in Chi Mei's belly is indeed related to Tong Shan. Kan Hung also used these documents to win the 200 million yuan inheritance dispute case. However, Chung Yao was criticized by Tong Min, saying that lawyers had no conscience, protecting the mistress, not protecting marriage. But after all, being a lawyer is just a profession. Representing someone does not reflect the lawyer's personal views. Although Kan Heng's reasons were very sufficient and spoken righteously, Chung Yao still felt very self-reproachful. In her personal life, because she was still staying at the hotel, Kan Hung thought and finally found a reason to trick her into returning to the rental house, even leaving a few notes on the table with the content. If you don't have money, don't live beyond your means. Why stay in a hotel? I'll move to the villa. You stay here. In Chung Yao's heart, she thought. He left so she could come back to stay here. Late at night, the single, cheerful girl opened her eyes wide to watch a movie. Suddenly, the doorbell rang. Looking at the clock, it was 2 a.m. No normal person would visit at this time. Indeed, when she looked through the peephole, she saw a man dressed in black, wearing sunglasses, standing outside. Very abnormal. She panicked and quickly shouted, acting dramatically, "Honey, didn't you just come back from the police station?" Who knew? The weirdo knocking at the door at 2 a.m. was Chairman Kan Hung. Right when he walked in, he asked her since when she had a husband working at the police station, and then said the reason he came was because of the pen. He probably left it here. It was the first time he had won a case. His dad gave it to him. It was very important to him. Kan Hung pretended to look for the pen around the house. Chung Yao felt it was very strange. Maybe only a boss with a mental disorder would wear sunglasses so late at night. But she didn't know that without her lullaby, Kan Hung was losing sleep every night. When he was at a dead end, he thought of Chung Yao. Chung Yao wore sunglasses to hide the dark circles under her eyes. And he even bothered her while she was sleeping. You still haven't found it? I have to go to class tomorrow morning. Kan Hung made an excuse to stay, saying it wasn't safe to drive at this hour, but Chung Yao had already called a designated driver service for him. The designated driver was already waiting for him downstairs to make sure he got home safely. Out of excuses, he left sadly. All his plans were useless. The next day at work, Bao Rui and Yu Fei were both surprised, not understanding why the boss was wearing sunglasses to the office. Meanwhile, Chung Yao had written a self-criticism report thousands of characters long, admitting that in Chi Mei's case, she had let personal feelings interfere and had overlooked procedural justice. After the case ended, Kan Hung saw she was drowning in self-blame. He then told her that justice isn't just of one kind. If you only focus on the justice of each specific case, you'll overlook the justice in the process. This is harmful to the progress of the law and the legal process, because sometimes people don't know what's right and what's wrong. Only by strictly adhering to procedural justice can the fairness of the law be shown, preventing innocent people from being wronged. Chung Yao understood that she was still too reliant on emotions. She thanked him and promised that after becoming a famous lawyer, she would charge by the hour and pay him consultation fees. He gave her a box of imported chocolates, saying that he didn't dare try the cilantro flavor, suggesting Chung Yao try it, and she wouldn't need to pay for the consultation if she did. As a result, when Chung Yao tried it, she grimaced because of the strange taste. Kan Hung seized the opportunity, giving her this box of chocolates as a gift in return. Chi Mei, on her way home, had to go to the hospital for premature labor and fell into a state of difficult birth. At that time, it wasn't possible to switch to surgery in time, and the child suffered from oxygen deprivation from birth and was later diagnosed with cerebral palsy. When Chung Yao finished the self-criticism report and was leaving, she happened to look back and noticed the dark circles under Kan Heng's sunglasses, remembering his unusual visit to her house the night before. She guessed that he was having trouble sleeping again. She was hesitating about whether or not to invite him back to her rental place. Bao Rui suddenly entered the room. interrupting their conversation. After receiving the reward from the case, Cheng Yao invited some colleagues out to eat. During the meal, some colleagues all laughed brightly, saying that Cheng Yao had made Kin Hung grimace as if he were constipated. At that time, Bao Rui received a call and learned that Chi Mei was having difficulty delivering the baby. Tong Shan's father started to change his mind, calling Cheng Yao and saying he didn't want to accept his grandson with cerebral palsy. He also wanted Cheng Yao to persuade Tong Min, because his daughter-in-law and granddaughter weren't visiting and were preparing to go abroad. However, the verdict had been given, and Cheng Yao couldn't do anything. On the way home, she received a call from her mother, who said she would visit her next week. Cheng Yao felt lucky that the boss had moved out, otherwise she didn't know what would happen. Who knew that evening, the boss would casually show up again, solemnly informing her that he would be going on a business trip abroad tomorrow to participate in a family trust dispute case. After dinner, Kin Hung said that he would stay overnight because the place was close to the airport, but also to give Cheng Yao a chance to refuse. Otherwise, the case would be assigned to Yu Fei. Cheng Yao naturally didn't agree. She enthusiastically invited the boss to stay. After that, Cheng Yao started packing and talking to her best friend. Her friend said that she and the boss were working on 2 cases, 2 people had died, suspecting that they might have encountered something unclean, scaring Cheng Yao. What scared her even more was that when she was about to go to sleep, she felt a cold wind by the window, and suddenly the power went out. She ran scared into Kin Heng's room, going in and out, asking about legal issues to talk to him. As a result, Kin Hung discovered a secret on her phone, which was the nickname she gave him, Stinky Idiot. Cheng Yao felt embarrassed, realizing that giving random nicknames had serious consequences if the boss was a vindictive person. In order not to be kicked out, she could only tell the truth that she was afraid of the dark. Kin Hung finally allowed her to stay, but Cheng Yao still had trouble sleeping, constantly talking to him. She said that she became a lawyer to help her sister get justice. Kin Hung guessed that she wanted to defeat Deng Ming in court. Kin Hung declared she had no chance of defeating him, but defeating Deng Ming was no problem. Cheng Yao asked him for help, and he told her that for the next 2 years, his only requirement for her was not to get married, not to date, and to devote all her time to work. Cheng Yao responded that even if a man were placed in front of her, she wouldn't be moved. Kin Hung coldly concluded, "Let's go to sleep." When Cheng Yao went on a business trip to meet a client in another place, she didn't expect that the other party was a sleazy person and not as clean as he appeared. President Tang came forward and shook Cheng Yao's hand with intimate gestures. Kin Hung noticed and said, "President Tang, we should save time." Although Kin Hung helped her escape this time, the other party still didn't give up his ulterior motives. During the break, President Tang's assistant invited Cheng Yao to the meeting room to help sort out documents. She remembered that Kin Hung had reminded her not to meet President Tang alone, but this time she was only meeting the assistant, so she thought it would be fine. However, when she arrived at the meeting room, she discovered President Tang was also there, and the assistant was someone who knew how to read the room. He had been sent by the boss to get documents and quickly returned, but as soon as he left the meeting room, he locked the door. Then, President Tang began his very poor performance, pretending to complain about his unstable life, saying his back hurt. He asked Cheng Yao to help connect the power because he was about to need to project some documents. Although Cheng Yao had doubts, because the other party was a client with a contract worth billions, she didn't want to refuse for fear that this small thing would make the client unhappy. However, her concession this time made President Tang even more unable to control the beast inside him. "Little lawyer, don't be nervous. I need a ray of light to warm me. And you are that ray of light. Let your white moonlight spread all over me." These unclean metaphors made Cheng Yao upset, pushing him away. Although Cheng Yao's elbow strike was excellent, who knew that the scoundrel still wouldn't stop after being hit, even asking Cheng Yao to continue hitting him and promising 100,000 yuan for each slap. In a panic, Cheng Yao missed this big business opportunity, only managing to quickly kick him away, then picking up her phone in front of him and filming. Fortunately, thanks to her quick thinking, Cheng Yao escaped the opponent's evil hands. When she returned to the lounge, she immediately uploaded the video to expose President Tang's ugly face. At this time, Kin Hung suddenly knocked on the door, bringing some documents for her to see. Cheng Yao's red eyes made Kin Hung realize something was wrong. Cheng Yao didn't want to worry Kin Hung because of her and also didn't want him to lose this deal. But at that moment, the video she had just uploaded suddenly started playing automatically, and Kin Hung also learned the whole story. He was furious, losing control, leading Cheng Yao to demand justice. Just like that, he beat the scoundrel President Tang black and blue, even canceling the contract on the spot. Cheng Yao also warned President Tang, if he took any action against Kin Hung, she would upload the video online for the online community to curse, attack, and boycott him. Kin Hung completely ignored her warning. He went up to him and confronted him. If you want revenge, then come to me. No one has ever won a lawsuit against me. Kin Hung's strength was truly impressive. He took Cheng Yao's hand and led her away. Afterward, Kin Hung angrily lectured Cheng Yao. Here with me. You don't have to put up with anyone. If anyone harasses you, slap them. It doesn't matter if they are a client worth 10 billion or 100 billion. If you can't beat them, you tell me. I'll help you beat them. Kin Hung's blunt words moved her. Before returning to the room, she asked a question she had been harboring for a long time. Why are you so good to someone who is just a tool like me? Didn't you invite me to Junhang just because I can cook and can make you sleep? Now Kin Hung understood and also realized why her attitude had recently become cold. He explained that she was a very important employee to him, telling her not to underestimate her position in his heart. Cheng Yao understood that she was important. Kin Hung was very concerned about the word tool, asking Wu Jun whether he saw him as just a tool to make money. Cheng Yao's answer made Kin Hung speechless. How can I treat you with such cold and ruthless way? However, Kin Hung still drew a method, used sincere heart to make up for Cheng Yao's wounded soul. So, the next morning, when Cheng Yao just arrived at the restaurant, she saw a table full of sweets. Afterward, he also let her make a request as a way to make up for the fear she had experienced the day before. He didn't expect that Cheng Yao's request would be to go to a children's amusement park. Kin Hung thought that such a childish place didn't suit his gentlemanly style. Wasting a day in such a meaningless place was no different than throwing money into the sea. Cheng Yao retorted, but you just said you would fulfill any of my requests. She played the previous recording for him. Therefore, the arrogant Kin Hung, who worked according to principles, had no choice but to agree. During this process, Cheng Yao's feelings for Kin Hung were gradually budding and growing rapidly. The two of them played a shooting game and won a big teddy bear, while Cheng Yao hoped to continue working with Kin Hung forever. Unexpectedly, he introduced her to a place with mountains, water, and more interesting things in the amusement park, saying that the next company outing would be there. Cheng Yao was overjoyed, saying something that left Kin Hung speechless. Oh my god, I didn't know you were such a nice person. But maybe a nice person has a little bit of romantic adventure. So it turns out your head is always full of such sensitive thoughts? Go back and write a 5,000-word self-criticism report. Cheng Yao complained. I'm a single girl. What's wrong with dreaming a little? You're just my boss. Can you control that? Kin Hung replied, of course, I can't control it, because you're important to me. Cheng Yao looked at him with her big eyes and pretty face, her whole body stunned. After a while, she made an excuse to go to the restroom to hide in the bathroom, and then told herself that Kin Hung's words were not related to love. It was all a deception, and it was just a boss's protection for his employee. Kin Hung also told himself that asking her to write a self-criticism report was a way for a boss to protect his employee. Finally, they returned to the hotel where they were staying. Although Cheng Yao made coffee to please Kin Hung, he still told her to write the self-criticism report. After a tiring day of fun, she fell asleep while writing. Kin Hung discovered this, took a blanket to cover her, but unexpectedly witnessed a funny scene. The boss's serious image was immediately shattered. What was even stranger was that Kin Hung, who often suffered from insomnia and usually needed to hear Cheng Yao's lullaby to fall asleep, this time only needed to look at her to start feeling sleepy. The lawsuit that Junhang was accused of by Xingming was won, but when she returned to her city, she heard bad news from Wu Jun. President Tang had filed a complaint against them with the Bar Association. Cheng Yao wanted to talk about what she had experienced, but Kin Hung didn't let her speak, only saying that the contract with President Tang was rejected by him. Wu Jun immediately scolded him for being enchanted by someone. Kin Hung said he would compensate him. Wu Jun coldly turned and left. Cheng Shi had just finished work and returned home, unexpectedly encountering harassment from her ex-husband. His words were unpleasant. You're dressed up so nicely, you must be going on a secret date, right? You're over 30 and divorced, all alone. Fortunately, Cheng Shi responded without backing down. It was very satisfying. I'm single. Now I can date anyone I want. It's my right. Now you're losing out in your marriage. And you come back to harass me. Don't you feel disgusting? However, Deng Ming still wouldn't give up until Cheng Shi said she would call the police. The other party finally left. Later, when she learned that her sister had been harassed by a client on a business trip, she arranged to meet Kin Hung to thank him for protecting her sister, Cheng Yao. She said that if he needed her help in the future, she wouldn't refuse, and even gave him a gift that could help treat insomnia. Unexpectedly, this caused Kin Hung to be scolded by Wu Jun, but it also created an opportunity for Kin Hung to brazenly make demands. She gave me some calming incense. You don't have any. Wu Jun felt cheated but decided not to help him anymore. Kin Hung was forced to admit that President Tang wanted to take advantage of Cheng Yao. He got angry and went to beat him, and gave him the calming incense that Cheng Shi gave him. The next day, Bao Rui received a case assigned by Ken Hong. Cheng Yao would be the assistant lawyer. The value of the case was only 2 million. Cheng Yao realized the opposing lawyer was her former boss, Yao Feng, who used to lead them, the intern lawyers, to drink with clients. She immediately understood that the boss wanted her to vent her anger. Otherwise, he wouldn't have taken on such a small case, and also wouldn't have required them to win. Fortunately, it didn't disappoint boss Ken Hong. After a fierce war of words in court, Yao Feng was truly defeated and scolded by the client. Afterward, Cheng Yao thanked the boss, but unexpectedly he only asked her to prepare the seafood dinner as promised. So, she planned to go to the market, but Ken Hong suddenly called, telling her to return home immediately. As a result, when she arrived home, she unexpectedly found her mother visiting. The girl was living with her boss, but unexpectedly her mother found out and insisted that they were boyfriend and girlfriend. Cheng Yao explained to her mother, "He really is my boss." The mother replied, "Don't lie to me, because every time we talk on the phone, you often complain that your boss at the law firm is always exploiting employees, is unethical, has no conscience, and takes on all kinds of clients for money. Your boss is so rich. Why would he live with you in such a small place?" Cheng Yao was embarrassed, not knowing how to stop her mother from revealing that accurate truth anymore. She had to admit her mistake, confirming that Ken Hong was her boyfriend and saying that they always slept separately. Her mother was only relieved after confirming this. But to avoid being forced into marriage, Cheng Yao lied that he had just lost his job because he worked at a screw manufacturing factory and only had a high school diploma. Although he was looking beautiful and intelligent, but actually almost stupid, Ken Hong didn't know what to say and wanted to ask her if she had any manners. But Cheng Yao didn't give him a chance to speak. Cheng Yao quickly pulled her mother out and told her to go find her father because it was a rare occasion for her to visit. Then she apologized to Ken Hong and explained the reason for the lie. She just wanted her mother to leave quickly, so she said that. If she had said he was a billionaire, her mother would definitely urge her to marry him. That's why she said he was a production line worker, so it would be easier to say goodbye later. This made Ken Hong angry, suspecting she wasn't serious about him and looked down on his feelings. And he bluntly deducted her year-end bonus. Although he knew that this was not in accordance with the law, Cheng Yao said that although she felt guilty, she didn't know where she was wrong. She still decided to invite him to dinner as an apology. But after waiting for a long time, she didn't see Ken Hong reply. Her best friend was having emotional problems and asked her to go out and talk. As it turned out, when he was meeting with a client, he felt that time was running out, and he promptly left the client and ran to the appointment location, waiting and waiting. He waited and waited, but didn't see the person who had invited him. When Cheng Yao returned, she saw Ken Hong with a gloomy face in the living room. Cheng Yao said that she skipped dinner because he didn't reply to her WeChat message. So, she thought he refused. Ken Hong still pretended to be fine. She thought about inviting him to dinner again. However, when Ken Hong saw her constantly rubbing her neck, he suggested they both go for a massage. As a result, Cheng Yao had a normal expression while he was pressed to the point of frowning. When they left the treatment center, they unfortunately ran into Cheng Yao's parents. She stammered for a moment and then started lying that her boyfriend had found a new job here and she came here to accompany him. Her parents were confused and didn't understand what was happening. But the good stuff wasn't over yet. Ken Hang's mother was also here, coincidentally seeing her son and starting to get suspicious. Previously, she had asked him to come with her, and he didn't want it at all. So why did he come here today? Hearing the manager say that a beautiful woman was accompanying her son, Ken Hang's mother was very curious, following her son's trail. The next day, she disguised herself very mysteriously, and finally, that day, she found the place where her beloved son was staying. I caught you. When Cheng Yao was cooking, she accidentally got Ken Hang's clothes dirty. Unexpectedly, she made him take them off right when his mother saw. Fortunately, the door wasn't completely closed, so she had the opportunity to see. Although Ken Hong and Cheng Yao repeatedly denied it, Ken Hang's mother only believed what she had seen. Pulling the girl's hand and repeatedly calling her daughter-in-law and asking how they met, Cheng Yao explained that she was a lawyer's assistant. Ken Hong didn't know what to say when he was put in this awkward situation, but his mother didn't care much about that, directly handing over a business card and asking Cheng Yao to come to a certain restaurant alone tomorrow to talk. When she arrived at the appointment, Ken Hang's mother presented a bank card, asking her to leave her son with a compensation fee of 1 billion, increasing to 10 billion. Although she repeatedly affirmed that the relationship between her and her boss was purely a relationship between superior and subordinate, Ken Hang's mother still didn't change her mind. "A girl like you, I can't let you enter our Ken family." Cheng Yao almost collapsed, only able to tell her to ask Ken Hong. Who would have thought that Ken Hang's mother didn't actually dislike Cheng Yao, nor did she intend to separate them. Everything was just because she watched too many TV dramas, just acting deeply to test the woman's heart. The next day, Kan Hung was tricked by his mother into returning home with the excuse of poor health, and Chung Yao was also invited. When she saw the luxurious villa of his family, Chung Yao was very surprised. She didn't understand how her boss could live in that humble rental house. The housekeeper also warmly welcomed her appearance. When Kan Heng's mother saw her, she seemed to rise from the dead, immediately grabbing her hand, turning into a professional matchmaker. "You two must live happily ever after, okay? Promise me." Chung Yao listened and agreed, while Kan Heng told his mother to stop acting. Hearing her son's words, Kan Heng's mother's emotions dropped, showing great dissatisfaction with her son. She said that Chung Yao refused to take $1 billion to not leave Kan Heng, which almost made her eyes fall out. Kan Heng was also worried that his mother had offended Chung Yao, so he told her to follow him and leave. But Kan Heng's mother insisted on talking to her privately, urging her to trick her son into going on blind dates. She thought that this would make Chung Yao admit that she liked her son. As a result, Chung Yao actually agreed. Kan Heng's father found this very amusing. "Honey, are you sure you're doing this to matchmake them?" Therefore, Kan Heng's father took out a blind date list. It was full of families they didn't have good relations with, not afraid of offending anyone. Meanwhile, Chung Yao, with 2 dinner vouchers, was thinking about how to talk to Kan Heng when her parents suddenly came to visit. When they saw that Kan Heng wasn't there, they asked about him, and Chung Yao could only explain that he was on a business trip. A masseuse also has to go on business trips. There isn't a single trustworthy Kan. She felt very uneasy hearing that. She was on the phone when a call came in. She used the excuse of being busy with work to run out, but she forgot the dinner vouchers. This led her parents to misunderstand, thinking it was a gift she had prepared to show filial piety to them, so they happily took them. It wasn't until Chung Yao told Kan Heng that she would invite him to dinner on the weekend that she discovered the dinner vouchers were missing. Kan Heng didn't care much. After all, he was rich, and he was secretly a little happy to be invited to dinner, and he was the one paying. He went back to his room and bought new ones online. However, on the weekend, Kan Heng arrived at the restaurant early and discovered he had been tricked. Even more embarrassingly, he was caught red-handed by Chung Yao's parents. "Kan Heng, weren't you supposed to be on a business trip? How do you have money to dress up so nicely and even come to such a luxurious place? You're disturbing my date." Chung Yao's father angrily scolded his daughter's boyfriend. "Damn it, do you have a conscience? Chung Yao works hard to earn money to support you, and you're behind her back squandering it like this. Beautiful on the outside, but rotten on the inside." Kan Heng was scolded relentlessly. He hadn't figured out what was going on when the woman next to him scolded him. "Sure enough, you're a freeloader. Going out to eat with you is a waste of my time." Chung Yao soon received a call from her parents, asking her to break up with Kan Heng. Kan Heng returned home and was almost in a daze. From a domineering, handsome, cold, elegant chairman, he turned into a disgraced, weak, and freeloading person. Knowing that the other party had been scolded badly, Chung Yao felt very embarrassed when Kan Heng came to question her. She hurriedly explained that she didn't dare to anger her boss's mother. Kan Heng sighed and told her to feel free to anger her in the future. Chung Yao, with her gentle, weak personality, really didn't have the courage to do so. Very soon after, she was again invited to meet with Kan Heng's mother. She, with her superstar-like performance, quickly softened Chung Yao's heart with tears and snot. The girl who went on a blind date with Kan Heng said that he didn't like women at all. She lived with Kan Heng. Didn't she notice any signs? Chung Yao really didn't realize the boss had a problem. Kan Heng's mother still wasn't reassured, begging Chung Yao to help her test him. She even gave her a bag of tools to investigate. As a result, Chung Yao fell into the trap again. When she was using a magazine provided by Kan Heng's mother to take pictures, she was unfortunately caught by Kan Heng in the room. The magazine hidden under the pillow was also discovered because a corner was sticking out. And what was even more embarrassing was that Kan Heng's mother had given her a bowl of nutritious soup with cordyceps and mutton. Kan Heng saw it and was completely shocked, asking Chung Yao what she meant. Chung Yao then realized Kan Heng's mother's intentions. "Why did you prepare these things without telling me first?" Fortunately, her best friend's call came at the right time to rescue her. Discovering that her friend had been dumped by her boyfriend and had intentions of ending her life, Chung Yao didn't have time to explain. She rushed out. Kan Heng was worried, so he took her, arriving in time to save her best friend, lamenting from the moment she was about to jump into the river. Her best friend cried, "He doesn't want me anymore. He doesn't want our child." Chung Yao was extremely angry. After comforting her best friend, Chung Yao took her to find her boyfriend to demand an explanation. However, they discovered that the third person was already in the house. Meng Ting couldn't stand it and rushed in to fight, getting into a physical altercation with the homewrecker. Chung Yao immediately went in to intervene, looking for a way to mediate. This part ends here. Thank you all for your support during this time. I wish you all good health to support my channel. See you in the following part. Goodbye and see you again. Bye-bye.